trying to learn about all the different asteroids that are floating in the sky. How are things separated between Mars and Jupiter, and what is that is all beyond Pluto called Oort cloud. So we had a brief introduction about it, and today we are going to go even more deep into what is there on the Oort cloud. What is there that is going to be the ones that we can see in the Oort cloud. That's what we are going to see today. So we are going to know a little bit about Oort cloud again, so that we will get back to what we have left out. So you understood that the asteroid belt is the one that is floating in between Mars and Jupiter. So it goes round and round because of the Mars's gravity, and every floating rock gets either pushed in or pushed out based on Jupiter's gravitational assistance. So this is all about comets, asteroids, and meteor. We had so much discussion about it. We found a lot of interesting facts. We found where there is craters, why it is Ceres. Is it Ceres a planet? Is it a dwarf planet? Is it an asteroid? All these things we know in the last episode. So today we are going to go even further deep into the sky to a little bit more about things that are beyond Pluto. That is, what is those things that we find normally that is floating in the uh, Oort cloud, that is comets, and how are comets so different from everything else in our solar system? Why does it take so long time for us to spot a comet and find it very rare inside our solar system? So that's what we are going to see today. So the topic of today is what is floating in the Oort cloud. So before I begin, you might be knowing that I told you there are different kinds of metallic things. So what are the things that you might remember from the last time?
Asteroids, comets, meteors, meteoroids, meteorites.
No. Someone said last time there is something called glass. What is glass?
It's a transparent material.
Okay, but what is it made up of? What is it made up of?
It's made up of carbon.
No, Kana. It is made up of silica. It is a different kind of material. 1 second. Hey, Litika is here. Hi, Litika. Hi. Why so late? Anyway, started. I didn't go much into it, so we'll continue. So I was asking, what is glass made up of, and I told glass is made up of silica. So silica is something that is very common in the inner part of the solar system, but outside, when you go far deep into the sky, that is into the Oort cloud, you find a lot of things that are not silica. They are mostly made up of things that are highly made up of carbon or other kinds of things which are metallic. So normally you don't find any other reason for us to think this is very common in the inner solar system. So these kind of shapes, odd shapes, they are like mostly potatoes and tomatoes, and all these odd shapes take a long time to get into our solar system, and sometimes they don't even get into it because Jupiter sees them and say, you get out, you don't stay inside, you are not so heavy enough to stay in our inner solar system. So it pushes it out, dumb, it hits, and it always goes out into the Oort cloud again. So this happens very often. So once in a while, if they don't find a very big object to hold on to, they'll find another asteroid and then they'll pick it up and they'll become a binary asteroid. So all this Eugenia, Ida, Dactyl, you see very small tiny ones also that is floating in the sky, which becomes a binary system of asteroid. So one big rock followed by a very small rock. They keep going around and round and round. So this is very common. So scientists thought we should experiment on finding whether we can hit these asteroids and we can able to collect samples from it, or probably we can send a probe and investigate on its tides and all these things. So do you remember I told you about one comet which was recently visited by European Space Agency and Japan Space Agency, comet 63P. Do you remember?
Yes.
It is called Churyumov-Gerasimenko. So it's a very large comet that is going in and around between Jupiter's orbit and Saturn's orbit. So it takes around roughly 85 years to get into the inner sides of the solar system, and possibly it will not stay more than 2 to 3 years. So, but we never cross its path, but all the other satellites they used to send can able to meet once in 7 years, and this 7-year cycle will help us to understand how this comets are evolving. So scientists have tried to hit the comet in a deep way. That is, they'll try to put a very big, heavy, uh, kind of like a rock or something like a metallic rock. And they'll slam it into that rock and find it whether it is getting blown up or broken down into different pieces. With that, they will able to find small, tiny, even small things that are inside, very deep inside the an asteroid. The reason is the reason is when you try to look at it, what are planets? What are basically planets? How big is a planet compared to asteroid?
There are thousands of times bigger.
So when a planet starts out, what shape will it be?
It will be an irregular shape.
Correct. So this irregular shape wala, can it be classified as an asteroid?
No.
Why? No, I know.
Sir, can you ask the question again?
No, if I'm saying a planet is something 1,000 times bigger than an asteroid, correct? So if it turn out to be an irregular shaped rock that is floating in the sky, can it be termed as an asteroid for a very long time?
No.
Yes.
Yes, correct. Nitin is almost right, because there are many reasons why an asteroid can become a large sized object like a planet, because there is enough material for that to be absorbed. We sadly are 4 inner planets. So Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars were very unlucky planets. We did not get lot of stones, we did not get lot of iron or other elements in our inner solar system. Everything got absorbed by the sun or by Jupiter. So all we have left out is very small planet sized things. But beyond the orbit of Jupiter, there are moons that are bigger than planet. What is the biggest moon in our solar system?
Titan.
How big is Titan?
It's almost the size of the Earth.
It is almost in between the size of moon and the earth. So it is so massive that even a planet is like a size of a large body as earth is. So like that, asteroids usually start out to be a very small object, but they grow in size over many thousands of years, and they will also develop kind of inner shape. That is, they'll have magma, they'll have lava, they'll have iron core, they'll have metallic core. All these things start to happen over many thousands of years. So scientists always think, we will send a rock, we will hit on that rock, we will find what is floating outside, and then we'll pick it out again. So all these things they do. So they send all the probes, asteroid, reconnaissance orbiters every year, and they'll usually find things that are very far away. So the last time we sent a probe was in the year 1997. So about 20 years it took for it to reach the outer side of the solar system, and this did not stop them from exploring other planets also. So they found opportunity to go and meet smaller, even dwarf planets we can call it. So Pluto, Charon, all these things were photographed for the first time using these satellites. And they also found the first time that Pluto's orbit is not always straight. I told you last time itself, Pluto is a very odd looking dwarf planet. So it will take at least some 220 years for it to do one full rotation across the sun, and it sometimes even crosses the orbit of Neptune. So in between the year 1979 to 1999, it was almost crossing in between the orbit of Pluto, but it never came very close. It was thousands and thousands of kilometers wide, and it never crossed its path. So the chance of Neptune getting hit by Pluto is very, very minimal. But even still, scientists always imagine that there is a chance in the early times, that is from 1 to 2 billion years of our sun's age. Sometime that is like how old are we now? How old is the sun now?
It's 3 billion.
5 billion.
It's 5 billion. So 5 billion means minus 3. So some 2, when it was the 2 billion years old sun, the Neptune and Pluto would have been in a different orbit. So they were in inner side and the outer side. So they both did merry-go-round and they jumped their positions and they became like this. Even they are speculating that Saturn and Jupiter had this once in a while, but we don't know. It is all speculated. The scientists are still trying to do all the mathematics to find the reason whether it is true or not. So all these things make sure that these two small cute little binary dwarf planets, that is Pluto and Charon, are commonly sharing the same orbital center, and they are going around in a center path. Even they have also picked up other asteroids that are flowing in the outer solar system, that is in the Oort cloud. They are Nix and Hydra. They are even smaller looking asteroids. So if you can imagine, so then you will all wonder why we are not calling Pluto and Eris as planet, because there is International Astronomical Union, which started from the year 1930s and later, stating that only few planets can be classified into an planetary body. They have to have this conditions. So it has to orbit around the sun. It has to have its own self-gravity, which is something that is all fixed and it doesn't have any loose rocks that is floating around in the sky. It has to have a certain amount of clearance from its neighbor. So we don't expect any any asteroid that would come and get to hit us in the planet Earth. You know why?
Sir, can you give a clue?
There is a very big brother who is hitting all the asteroids in our inner solar system.
Jupiter?
Yes, because Jupiter is doing the big brother work and he is clearing all the field for us in the inner planets. So Mercury, Venus and Earth are very comfortable in our orbital position, that they don't usually get to have any problem with their neighbors. But if you look at other planetary bodies, say like Saturn or Uranus, they are constantly getting hit by a lot of asteroids every once in a month. But in inner planets, we don't do that. And even unfortunately, Mars also doesn't have that. Mars is very close to asteroid belt, but they don't get any rocks coming to hit their planet. So Mars is very safe. Earth is very safe. Venus is not so safe because Venus has a lot of sulfuric acid in the clouds. Mercury is not safe because Mercury is very close to the sun. So both Earth and Mars are a very safe planet because they follow a very strict orbital path across the solar system. And this is how scientists voted and said that these are the three conditions in which, that is, it has to go around the sun, it has to have its own self-gravity, and it has to have its own orbital clearance in the neighborhood. So that's how they voted, and they said in the year 1997 we can't have this Pluto guy hanging around as a planet, so we will vote it out, and it became the reason for it to be called as a dwarf planet. So from that on, they started finding other objects that are there in the solar system, that is either comets, asteroids or meteors in the outer solar system, and they started looking at different objects and started photographing them one after the other. So there have been lots and lots of planetary missions that have been sent from Earth to observe all these objects. So I think I've told you most about comets already. So this is how it is. So from outside of our Oort cloud, some of the objects fall into our Earth's closest proximity, and when they fall, they'll get pushed by the sun and they'll go out of our solar system, and they'll come back once in every 70, 80 or 100 years. That's how it has been for a very, 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 very long time. So they all come from either mostly from the Oort cloud or objects beyond Kuiper belt. So that is around 50,000 astronomical units. That is so massive. That is the entire size of our two maybe 3 times that of our entire light that goes out into our solar system is the size of our Oort cloud. And how do the people go there? How do normally, if you, when you travel now, how long does it take for you to go to the outer solar system? Can anyone guess?
More than 50 years?
Hey, very good, super. So it took around 44 years for an object from Earth to be outside of our solar system. So any guess what that name of that object is?
I've heard it starts in I, right?
No, it starts in V. Yes. It's a spacecraft. It had brother sister spacecraft. Clue. It starts with the letter V, and it has a very famous photograph that was taken of the Earth in 1991. Yeah. You can answer, Saranya. Yeah.
Oh, Voyager.
Yeah.
Voyager 2.
Yes, it is Voyager. So we are going to see little more about Voyager today after it took so many famous photographs of almost all the planets that we saw. And these are all the photographs that have been taken and analyzed using other spacecrafts in our Earth's orbital system. So they are usually take aerogel. It's a kind of scientific equipment that is carried in from your Earth towards the either any outside objects like asteroids or comets, and they'll collect small samples from it, and they'll bring it here and they'll analyze it. So you remember that comet 63P Churyumov-Gerasimenko is going to bring the sample in the year 2022 August. So it is going to take a long time for the journey to back from Jupiter's outer orbits to back to Earth. So it is going to take 2 years for it to come back. So it is going to bring from that comet. So as Saranya told, it is a Voyager 1 and 2 which took a long time for us to reach the outer solar system, but it took so much of photographs. So it was launched in the year 1977 and followed by it they also sent Voyager 2. So the both brother and sister were sent out into the outer solar system, planning to take photographs of the all 9 planets. It was 9 planets then, but slowly it became 8 later. So this is how they started out. So they had a lot of issues. They had found a lot of problems with the sensors. All these electronic things were constantly in troubling. But they said we have to launch it. We have to find either good reason for it to fail. So successfully they made so many attempts, so many trials, and they started sending the first opportunity. So from Earth, it started in 1977. So where do you think the Voyager is now? Voyager 1 and Voyager 2.
It's after Neptune.
No, it is even farther than that. We crossed Neptune in
After all the
1989.
dwarf planets.
It is almost out of our solar system, and it is almost in between our Oort cloud. It is on the heliosphere between our sun and our outer solar system. So first it took a lot of photographs of Jupiter. So it was the first one to spot that red spot, the giant red spot in the Jupiter's orbit, and it took photographs of all the moons of Jupiter. It was there for about 20-30 minutes on the outer orbit of the Jupiter. So it took photographs of Saturn. First photographs of Saturn came from Voyager spacecraft. So it was the first one to look at the orbital length of the entire rings. So Saturn has got beautiful rings, right? So all the rings were first photographed by Voyager spacecraft, and it took other 4 more years to take photographs of Uranus, and it was the first one to look at all the cool things about Neptune. So all these 45 years of travel, it had taken all its energy to take photographs and send it back to Earth using a communication relay between one planet to another planet. So it took them more than couple of hours. So from Pluto, it took nearly 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours for data to come back to Earth. So that much long, how distant it is for a data from a satellite to come back to Earth. So this is how we are right now. So we are almost 100,000 light years across in Milky Way galaxy, and for that particular spacecraft to go out, it will take some like 20 light days. That is, it has to travel constantly out and out and out in the speed of light, and then only it will reach across the entire solar system in that speed. So it is not possible, obviously. So what has happened is our Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft have just slightly passed the heliosphere. So it is going in opposite direction. One is going above and one is going below our solar system's entire reach. So probably in the next 40,000 years, it will reach the next nearest galaxy. So this is how the data is coming from. So the last transmission that came was in the year 2015. So after that, normally what happens, the battery inside that spacecraft will take a lot of time to charge up and send data again, because there is very little light. So what is needed for charging the battery?
Charging.
A charger is there. Okay, charger. Before charger was invented, what did they use for charging things?
Yes. Can you ask the question again?
Okay, before chargers were there, before electronic circuit was there for charging things, what was there to charge electronic devices? How do we add power to our spacecraft, any spacecraft?
Solar power.
Hey, correct, very good. So there are a lot of solar panels there, but even you can see there is solar panel there in the Voyager spacecraft. When you are very far away from the solar system, you don't have any solar power at all. So what happens, every few years once they'll try to orient the solar panels so that it looks at our sun and charges a little and tries to send back data to Earth. But sadly it has never happened in the last 10 years. So whatever battery that is there in the now, it is going to take another probably 2 to 3 years, and after that the entire battery will die and the spacecraft will only continue to go out of our system and it will never even communicate with us. So that is where it is. So after 1989, they have been constantly sending few photographs and few communications, very little communications, and that has been giving us only as a radio signal. So this is the radio signal that has come from Voyager spacecraft, and this is the last transmission that was received in 2015. So last 6 years we have got no transmission from Voyager spacecraft. So this is something very cool. So this is a golden disk that is there in the Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft, which has got some unique things about Earth. So it has got lots and lots of information about Earth. So next week we are going to decode this golden disk and we are going to see what is there written in that spacecraft. So what would aliens see with that spacecraft? So that is going to be the next week, and we have a quick update. So last week we had an opportunity to see Ingenuity's flight on the second time and third time. Now we have got first photographs and videos of how it is flying in the surface. So they are going to start another set of experiments. Now they are going to plan to make it go around longer distance and height also. So now it is being planned to go even beyond 20 feet. So this is going to be our next topic. So next week we are going to see what is that golden record, what is written in the golden record, and what is the information that we are going to send to our aliens. What is that we are going to send, and what is the information that is going to come from aliens. So do we have any questions? What's the question for the day? We have got a lot of questions. Yes, please ask.
Which is the second speedest thing?
Which is the second fastest thing? After light, there is okay. Actually, if you compare, light is not one thing. So light consists of many spectrum of things. The fastest one is ultraviolet and the slowest one is infrared. So if you comparatively say, light itself is also fast and slow, but apart from light, sound is the next fastest thing.
How many meteors fall in Earth every year?
Meteors, we don't have regular meteors in Earth. Only there are known to be limited number of meteors that cross Earth. I think I remember in one class some 6 months back I took a class. I think there are a total of 10 known meteor periods. One happens in my birthday, that is on December 21st. Other happens on October 17th. There is one happening in the next month, but it is all very minimal. So these meteor showers happen between uh, 5 to 20 meteors per hour. That is normally the one that you happen. But apart from that, don't find a lot of meteors in the other times.
Yes. How many types of telescopes are there?
Okay, there is. Okay, I think Saranya can answer. Reflective, refractive. Okay, Saranya, can you go ahead?
Yes. So basically, if you want to use it for everyday purpose, like for us, so we have three types. We have refracting telescopes, and we have Cassegrain telescopes and Newtonian telescopes. And in these telescopes, we have different types in terms of lenses, mirrors. We can have them custom made based on our purpose. So, amateur astronomers are people who are trying to look at any specific objects. So, we usually have it with Newtonian Dobsonian mounts, like the orientations where you can move the telescope. You can either move it up and down, right or left. Dobsonian will be like that. If you have an equatorial mount, you can rotate it in any direction, round. Like it not only moves up and down, right and left, but also it can be moved at any particular angle and can be placed there. So it moves around our equatorial axis. So based on our convenience and based on our purpose, we select a particular mount, either a Dobsonian mount or an equatorial, and we usually either use a reflective telescope or a refractive telescope.
Yes, Lakshya. Yes. What's your question?
Electricity is there in Mars.
What is?
Electricity in Mars.
Is there electricity in Mars? No, not so much, Kanama, because for to produce electricity, we need to have some constant source of power. But I told you, Mars doesn't have a constant temperature or constant climate. It is always windy in summer months. It is always cloudy with a lot of dust storms, and in the night there is around minus 100 degrees temperature in area. So we need to have some different temperatures for working around that time. Maybe probably in another 5 years we will have solar panels in Mars. Until then there is no electricity. If you go there, you have to stay in the dark. Are you afraid of the dark? No, you're not afraid of dark. Then you can go and Nitin is afraid of the dark. So you can't go and stay there. So you have to have torchlight with a very long battery, very maybe 10-year-old battery if you have, then you can stay in Mars. Yes. Any question?
Yes, sir.
Samyukta has
When
got a
was
lot of
the
questions.
when was the first telescope discovered?
Telescopes are not discovered. Telescopes were invented. So first telescopes were built by Galileo Galilei. So he was there in 16. I presume 1635 or 1645. I don't know, but somewhere in the 17th century, 400 years ago.
Which is the first planet to be seen in a telescope?
Saturn. Saturn and Jupiter, both of them.
Why does the planets only revolve around the sun?
There are also rogue planets. There have been planets. I think I showed you. One second, I'll try to show again. remember I told you about this, right?
Yeah.
So this Schla star is a very old star. It has crossed our outer limits of our solar system in the Oort cloud, and it has pushed a lot of uh, planets out from its orbit. So it is a brown dwarf. It is a very lightweight brown dwarf. So it has been pulling a lot of free flowing planets, and they are called as rogue planets. They don't follow any orbital path, and we are not expected to be finding any planets apart from our solar system, because luckily our sun is very big. If a sun is a very small star, then we would have been hit by uh, a separate planet. Yes, Lakshya. No, don't hurt Nitin.
Which is the smallest star?
Which is the smallest star? Okay, there is, I think there is one white dwarf called Rigel. Rigel, or I don't know. I don't know. I still don't remember. Smallest.
Rigel. Rigel.
Yes, something called Rigel. I just give me a second. So there are been lot of dwarf star, and the one that is very small is about the size of Saturn, about the size of planet Saturn. It is EBLM 7055557AB. It's all the mouthful. Okay, I'll send you that link. Yes, Nitin.
Why do people explore space? Why do people explore space?
Why do people explore space? That's a very good question. Okay. See, when we were born, okay, what did we do for the first? Okay, this is going to be a little tough for me to answer. Nitin, you are around 6-7 years old, right? You're 7 years old.
6.5 years
Okay,
old.
6.5. Okay, six and a half years old, and by the time you become, say, like 20 or 30, you will not be able to go out and see the entire world, right? It will be very tough for you. You will have to ask direction. You will have to ask about who is your neighbor, who is the people you are going to meet out of your planet. All these things you have to ask. But imagine what will happen if the people from out of our planet go and meet someone outside of our planet. Say if you want to meet aliens, what will you do first? What will you say to the aliens?
I don't know yet.
Okay, you might have to first learn to speak their language. So you have to say how to say hello to them. How do you say hi to them? We come in peace. We don't want to bother you. All these kind of symbols you have to teach them and learn from them. So this is something. Yeah. So this is all something you need to understand by exploring. So for thousands and thousands of years, we have been exploring our planet. So we have gone across all our planets. So Lithika is right now in Dubai. Saranya is somewhere in Andhra Pradesh. Samyukta is somewhere in Vellore. So everyone is meeting across internet. So we first need to build something apart from our technology, so that we can go and talk to other people. That's why we are going and exploring in space. And I know this is a little tough for you to grasp at the age of 7, but we need to build technology to talk to other aliens. That's why we are trying to explore space. Yes, Amita.
Why do we see different patterns of stars every day?
We are not always fixed in one space. So we are going around the sun, as well as we are also having a tilt in our orbit. So every day we are moving between 0 to 23 degrees. No, not every day. Every 6 months we are moving from 0 to 23 degrees in either direction of our planet. So that's why we are starting to see the sky in a different orientation every night. You know what is 0 to 23 degrees, right? What is 0 to 23 degrees? Can anyone tell? No, let Litika try. What is Litika? What is 0 to 23 degrees? Any clue? Thinking.
Can you ask it again?
Our Earth is now going around the sun in a not vertical space. It is not going vertically. It is not doing this Zumba dance. It is doing a tilting belly dance. I told you it is doing this tilting belly dance every 6 months. Yeah, it is doing that every 6 months. So what is that? What does that have to do? Why is it doing that? You can answer. Wait, Samyukta, wait. Let Litika try it again. I told you once that it has to something to do with our core, our innermost core. There is something in our planet's core. What is there inside our planet's core?
There are 3 layers.
There are 3 layers are there. What is the most liquid layer? It comes out as out of the volcano and it comes out.
Lava.
So this liquid lava is inside our planet, which is giving it the orbital motion. So our Earth's inner core is very heavy. So it tries to tilt every 6 months to balance out this motion. So that is how it goes from 0 degree to 23 degree on the one side and 23 degree on the other side. So that's how we get season. You know what climate is now in India for 6 months?
Summer.
So what happens after the month of September?
Winter.
So like that. So every 6 months we are going between these two seasons because of this 0 to 23 degree every 6 months. Yes, Samyukta, your question.
Who was the first astronaut to space?
Yuri Gagarin. So he was the first. He was not called astronaut. He was called cosmonaut. So he is from Russia, and 1967 he was sent to space. And within 10 years, before 1979, 3 American astronauts went to the moon. That was the next 3 people who went. So one of them was moon. Yes.
Are bacteria present in other planets?
There has been a recent study Venus. They found a lot of phosphine gas. Phosphine is a kind of gas which is formed by either acidic action or due to bacterial action. I'll come. Wait, Lakshya, I'll come. Nitin, I'll come. Wait. So both these source, that is either by acidic action or bacterial action, there can be phosphine gas, and scientists are wondering if there could be any other life form in this planet, and they are going to send a probe by 2025 to investigate it, to either to Venus, or they are trying to send one to Jupiter's moon Io. Io has also got similar acidic action in its surface. So they are going to send either to Venus or to Io. The most promising one is Io, so they'll try to send it to Io probably. We don't know for sure because International Astronomical Committee has to agree to these conditions. Yes, Lakshya. Yes, please. You don't have to raise your hand.
We both have the same question.
Yes, please.
And what if we combine Pluto and Mars together? What planet does it give?
If we combine Mars and Pluto is very tiny. Pluto is the size of our moon, and Mars is about to the size 3/4 to the size of Earth. So it will be somewhere between the size of Earth and Earth plus 1. It will become Earth plus 1 planet. It will be to the size of that planet. But you want to know how it will look in the color. What color will it look? You want to know its color. So it is reddish in Mars and white and maroon in Pluto. So
Purple.
maroon. I don't know. I don't know how what kind of color it will come, because the maroon is due to stellites and calcites in the surface. So I don't know. I'm not very good in geology, so I'm sorry. So probably it will come to some very bright color of like Samyukta said, magenta. Maybe it will come at a side, magenta or purple. Why do you want to combine these two planets? What is the reason for combining these two planets?
I just had a weird dream, so I had a question.
Okay. So this planetary collision normally don't happen in our solar system, but there are few other systems that are very close by where this is very common. So probably there you can find a lot of planets getting smudged into one to other. They become one big idli kind of shape or anything like that. Idli and Kulipaniyaram, idli and dosa mixed together, like that it will become a combinational planet. Yes, Lakshya.
Has anybody in space survived without a spacesuit?
No, you can't do that. If you try to do it, you will be instantly hit by radiation and temperature. So what is the temperature out in our atmosphere? What is when you go out of our atmosphere? What will be the temperature?
More than 100 degrees.
No, it will not be hot. It will not be hot. It will be cold.
Our lungs would burst.
No, first our body and water in our body will start to immediately freeze, and because of the heat and radiation that is coming passively from the sun, you will start to instantly become like a dust, become a dust, and you will fade off like dust. Have you seen the movie Avengers? Have you seen the movie? You don't have. I don't think you would have seen Avengers. Okay, you will instantly become dust. Yes.
I watched Avengers and I realized so much questions about planets and science. So I watched the Big Hero 6.
Big Hero 6. Okay. Big Hero 6. Okay, it has got a lot of science, cool science, but none of that science is actually factual science. It is exaggerated science. There is no like mind controlling magnet. There is no like levitating spinning disc, and there is no smoke and dust creating gas. No, I don't think there is something like that. Okay, but to a certain extent, Big Hero 6 is a very good movie. It's a happy movie. Vidya is very. I don't have no
Where
question.
is the International Space Station?
It goes around our solar system at an orbit beyond. I think it is in polar orbit, so somewhere around 18 kilometers, 17 or 18 kilometers. I'm not sure. So between that, so it takes around 12 times it goes around our planet in a day, one day. So every minute it is in a different location. It is in a different position. You can Google. I'll give you a link. Where is the ISS now? Is a link, very famous link. So I'll give you this link. Oh, I'm sending you a link. This is a very site where you can find that space station where it is located right now. So it is giving you constant update where it is right now. So the present location is somewhere, it is above the Pacific Ocean. It is right now in the Pacific Ocean, and it will reach the North American coast somewhere around 1 hour, another 1 hour from now. Yeah, it is almost reaching the North American point in another 1 hour. Minus 1 hour and 5 minutes. So it is going 12 hours across our entire solar system. Sorry, not solar system, our planet. Okay. Yes.
Elliptical meaning?
Elliptical. Okay. See, we need to have some kind of push and pull for the movement to happen, because if you are in a very constant distance, you will lose a lot of energy. How can I say elliptical orbit motion?
Can I try to explain?
Yeah, please. How do you explain motion?
So
Conservation of
we know
energy.
yeah. So this is circle. Like we know a circle, right? And a circle elongated at its ends is called an elliptical, just like a shape of an egg, if we can say the outline of egg. But why do we have it as elliptical? Because there is a constant push from the sun. The sun is pushing the moon, all the planets towards it, and there's also a constant pull from the planets to come away from the sun. So because of this push and pull happening between sun and the planets, the orbit has become elliptical instead of being it around.
So you might ask, what happens if there it is not elliptical? Whichever is very strong will win, and will lose the competition. So if sun's gravity is very large, we will be pulled into the sun's gravity and will instantly get destroyed.
And also, we have a lot of comets and all these asteroids roaming around us because they don't have an elliptical path towards the sun. That's why they are pulled somewhere else. They are very far away sometimes.
So it takes a minimum some 10,000 years for a comet to get matured enough to get destroyed. So the comet's life is around 10,000 years. So after some 10,000 years, then they will have a small change in their orbit. So for that time, they'll constantly stay in that same place or that same orbit.
Done all these questions.
Very good, super, fantastic. Lakshay, you are going to make Nitin head spin. Don't do that. Don't do that.
He told me to do it.
No. Nitin, you will have a headache after some time. Okay. Is that all? Is there anything else we'll have today, or that's good?
That's it.
Okay. Ritika, you are very quiet today. What happened? You're bored, getting bored, huh? Okay, not bored. Okay, fine. So that's it for today. So lovely weekend for you, and probably we'll see you next week. Bye.
Next week I'll bring some more questions.
Yes, please. You can bring all the questions you like. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, Saranya. Bye, Latika.
Bye, everyone.